Los Angeles, 1979. Maureen McCormick walked into a party thinking she'd find escape. Instead, she made a choice that haunted her for decades. It is 1979. Jimmy Carter is in the White House. The Iranian Revolution is on the evening news. Gas lines curl around city blocks. Families settle in for Dallas and the Dukes of Hazzard. My Sharona owns the radio. Alien and Apocalypse now shake movie theaters. A new device called the Walkman is about to live in everyone's pocket. A gallon of gas is about 63 cents. A movie ticket is a little over $2. The Brady Bunch is in reruns and still in living rooms. People smile when they see Marcia Brady's face and feel the old comfort of a perfect television family. Behind that smile, Maureen McCormick is fighting a battle that the public will not see for years. When you think of Maureen McCormick, you see Marcia Brady's perfect smile and wholesome image. The real story is darker. This is about addiction, survival, and the brutal price of fame. What follows are 10 truths that expose the gap between the character we loved and the woman fighting to stay alive. Truth number 1. During her worst addiction period, McCormick was filmed without clothes at a party connected to the Playboy Mansion scene. A man offered drugs in exchange. She agreed. The camera rolled. For years afterward, she lived in terror that the footage would surface and destroy what remained of her career. The fear was constant. Every phone call could be the one. Every tabloid headline could expose her. She couldn't outrun it until she decided to tell the story herself. This happened in late 70s Los Angeles, a city that devoured young stars. McCormick was already carrying childhood trauma, anxiety about her family's medical history, and depression she couldn't shake. Cocaine seemed like a solution. That night wasn't the beginning of her problems. It was a symptom of how far she'd fallen. The tape represents every bad decision addiction forces on its victims. She later spoke about it publicly because keeping the secret gave it power. Telling the truth took that power away. Truth number 2. She posed without clothes for a cocaine dealer to get drugs. No manager, no publicist, no safety net. Just a desperate exchange that shows addiction's grip. The dealer controlled the supply. She'd lost control of everything else. She needed the next line more than dignity. She chose the drug. Later, she documented this in her memoir because confronting shame was the only way to move past it. Television audiences don't want to believe their idols make choices like this. We prefer the sanitized version where stars go home to normal lives after filming wraps. McCormick shattered that illusion. The years after the Brady Bunch ended were chaos. Every attempt to maintain her public image made her private collapse worse. A photo for drugs isn't just a transaction. It's proof of what happens when addiction takes the wheel. Truth number 3. McCormick admitted in her own words that she had sex with a cocaine dealer to get drugs. The dealer eventually went to prison. She described this period as caring only about sex and cocaine, using one to get the other. She called it rock bottom. This isn't speculation or rumor. It's her confession, written in her memoir and repeated in interviews. She shared it because secrets thrive in darkness. Bringing them into light diminishes their power. People question why someone would admit something this damaging. The answer is survival. McCormick wanted a future with her husband, daughter, and meaningful work. She couldn't build that future while carrying the weight of hidden shame. Confession became liberation. This is why her story still resonates. She didn't wait for tabloids to expose her. She exposed herself first and controlled the narrative. Truth number 4. The Brady Bunch ended in 1974. The spotlight dimmed. Calls from casting directors stopped. America still saw Marcia Brady, but Maureen McCormick was now a young adult without direction. Cocaine entered her life during this transition and quickly took over. She's also been open about learning her family carried congenital syphilis, a revelation that planted itself in her mind like a curse. She feared illness. She feared judgment. Anxiety and depression intensified. Cocaine temporarily silenced the worry, but solved nothing. The relief lasted hours. The noise always came back louder. The spiral consumed years. Nights blurred. Auditions turned into apologies. She lost weight, sleep, and time. She hurt people who loved her and hurt herself repeatedly. Many actors share similar stories with different details. What distinguishes McCormick's account is her unflinching ownership and the strong second act she built afterward. The falling part isn't unique. The recovery is. The late 70s were particularly brutal for former child stars. No support systems existed. No conversations about mental health in Hollywood. Stars were expected to transition seamlessly from childhood fame to adult careers. When they couldn't, the industry moved on without offering help. McCormick fell through those cracks. She struggled alone because asking for help meant admitting weakness, and weakness meant career death. So she hid the addiction while it consumed her. Truth number 5. Early 80s. McCormick missed a screen test. She was in her apartment with drugs and excuses. Her agent understood another chance might not come. He went to her apartment and forced his way inside. He pulled her into the shower and washed cocaine from her face and hair. He dressed her and got her to treatment. It wasn't gentle, it was necessary. That moment of tough love likely saved her life. Imagine the shame of that intervention. Imagine the anger at being exposed. Imagine two voices competing inside her head. Leave me alone versus please don't leave. She listened to the second voice. That choice didn't immediately fix everything or erase the past, but it redirected her toward hope, work, and the possibility of making things right. Interventions look dramatic on paper but feel ugly in real time. This one worked because her agent refused to give up when she'd given up on herself. Recovery didn't happen overnight. She entered treatment facilities. She attended support groups. She worked with therapists to address the underlying issues cocaine had been masking. The process took years. Relapse happened. Progress was inconsistent. But she kept showing up. She kept trying. The agent's intervention was the catalyst, but McCormick did the work that followed. Truth number 6. McCormick has shared how drug use cost her an audition connected to Raiders of the Lost Ark. She arrived unprepared, exhausted, and unable to focus. Casting directors noticed. The film became a massive success. She went home with regret and a permanent what if. The lesson is simple but painful. Talent opens doors. Discipline keeps them open. During those years, she had talent but lacked discipline. That single missed appointment carries enormous weight in her career retrospective. She had the ability for serious dramatic work. She wanted to prove she was more than Marcia Brady. But cocaine destroyed her timing and reliability. When she discusses this now, she doesn't blame casting directors or bad luck. She points directly at her addiction and her own choices. This accountability runs throughout her story and makes it credible. She doesn't play victim. She owns her mistakes and their consequences. The Raiders' opportunity represents a turning point she couldn't take. Steven Spielberg was creating cinema history. The franchise would span decades. Being part of it could have transformed her career trajectory. Instead, addiction kept her locked in a cycle of missed chances and mounting regret. She watched the film's success from the outside, knowing she'd been too broken to seize the moment when it appeared. Truth number 7. McCormick and Barry Williams, who played Greg Brady, shared their first real kiss during the Hawaii episodes in 1972. They were attracted to each other off camera while playing siblings on screen. The situation was surreal and complicated. Both were teenagers navigating fame and hormones while maintaining professional boundaries. The kiss happened away from the crew, a private moment in a very public life. This truth adds human dimension to people America knew as fictional siblings. The Brady Bunch presented an idealized family where everything worked out in 30 minutes. Behind the scenes, the cast dealt with normal teenage feelings in abnormal circumstances. McCormick and Williams had to separate their real attraction from their character relationships, then go back to set and play brother and sister convincingly. That cognitive dissonance affected both of them. Years later, both have spoken openly about this attraction and how strange it felt. They remained friends through adulthood, but that initial crush represents the complexity of growing up on television. Nothing was simple. Every feeling was magnified by fame. Every interaction could be misinterpreted by fans or press. The Hawaii kiss was a moment of authenticity in an artificial world, and it mattered to both of them. Truth number 8. At 16, McCormick dated 14-year-old Michael Jackson. The Jackson 5 visited the Brady Bunch set. Jackson loved the show and watched it religiously. They went roller skating, held hands, kissed on the cheek, never the lips. He was shy, fascinated by everything, already trapped in fame. She remembered him as gentle and sweet. Years later, after his death, she defended him publicly. Their innocent teenage romance was one of the few normal experiences before cocaine destroyed everything. Jackson's life would become even more complicated than McCormick's. Both faced impossible expectations. Both struggled with the transition from child star to adult. For a brief window, they were just two kids enjoying an evening away from cameras. Those moments sustained McCormick later when everything fell apart. She could remember being young and happy before drugs took over. Truth number 9. Eve Plumb played Jan Brady. On screen, Jan envied Marcia. Off-screen, they were close friends during filming. After the show ended, everything imploded. McCormick appeared on a late-night talk show and joked about having a romantic relationship with Plumb. McCormick thought it was harmless. Plumb didn't laugh. She stopped speaking to McCormick completely. Phone calls went unreturned for over a decade. Susan Olsen, who played Cindy, got stuck in the middle. She told reporters that Plumb didn't hate McCormick. Something worse, she was indifferent. She didn't care. The feud destroyed reunion opportunities. One would participate only if the other stayed away. This lasted until 2019 when HGTV forced reconciliation for a very Brady renovation. They worked together professionally. The friendship never recovered. One careless joke on television cost McCormick a friendship and years of opportunities. Some damage can't be repaired, only managed. Truth number 10. McCormick's grandmother died insane in a mental institution from syphilis. Her grandfather killed himself 1 week later. Her mother contracted syphilis in utero. McCormick learned this as a child and spent years convinced she'd go insane too. The fear was irrational but consuming. When Brady Bunch scripts required crying, she tapped into that terror. The tears were real. This fear fed her anxiety and depression. Combined with her father's affair, her brother's heroin addiction, and industry pressure, cocaine became the escape. Years later, therapy helped her understand the syphilis fear was medically unfounded. But understanding doesn't erase childhood spent in terror. Trauma explains behavior. It doesn't excuse it. These 10 truths show the complete arc. Childhood trauma, family dysfunction, addiction, rock bottom, then the climb back. Michael Cummings married her in 1985 during her worst period. He gave her an ultimatum after a relapse: the drugs or him. She chose him. Their daughter Natalie was born in 1989. Motherhood gave her another reason to stay sober. Not a cure. A reason to keep fighting. Her 2008 memoir. Here's the story documented everything. The tape, the sex for drugs, the interventions, complete honesty. Some fans turned away. Thousands more responded. The book became a resource for families dealing with addiction. Telling the truth had consequences. Some producers thought her story too dark. Her daughter grew up knowing the world knew her mother's worst moments. But silence had worse costs. The secrets were killing her. She chose public honesty over private hell. Today she's 68, sober 40 years, still working. She does conventions, reality shows, home renovation programs, speaking engagements. She's the former child star who survived and will talk about it. That matters because so many child stars don't survive. She became proof that recovery is possible. The Brady Bunch connection creates the perfect storm. The show represented idealized American life. Having Marcia Brady admit to such darkness creates cognitive dissonance. If she could fall that far, anyone could. That's scary and hopeful. We're all vulnerable, but even she made it back. Her willingness to own her mistakes sets her apart. Most celebrities make excuses. She pointed at herself and said, "I did this." That accountability is rare and terrifying because it means admitting you were capable of shameful choices. She did it anyway. She controlled her narrative before tabloids could. Maureen McCormick walked into a party in 1979 looking for escape and found a trap. The videotape, the photos, the sex for drugs. She survived because an agent refused to give up. She survived because her husband stayed. She survived because eventually she wanted to survive. All three were necessary, none sufficient alone. That's recovery. You need help, you need support, but ultimately you have to want it. No one can do it for you. Today she owns her past without being imprisoned by it. She doesn't hide. She doesn't embellish. She tells the truth and keeps moving. That's why her story matters. Not because she was perfect, because she wasn't. And she'll tell you exactly how imperfect she was, and she's still here. If this resonated, hit subscribe. We uncover untold stories of stars who faced their demons. Sometimes they won, sometimes they didn't. Every story matters. Drop a comment. What surprised you most? If you or someone you love is struggling, remember her story started with one person refusing to give up. Help is possible. Recovery is real. More surprising truths coming. See you next time.